In the shattered remains of a once thriving Afghan village, where the dust of battle mingled with the echoes of a lost past, a single figure moved silently amid the ruins. Sergeant Andrew Harris, a soldier hardened by the relentless cruelty of war, yet defined by an unwavering compassion, advanced cautiously through debris and broken stone. The sun, a fading ember on the horizon, cast long shadows across the rubble-strewn landscape, a stark reminder of the devastation wrought by conflict. Every shattered wall and every splintered beam told a story of struggle and sacrifice, a story in which Andrew was now an unwilling participant. His footsteps, deliberate and measured, stirred the dust of memories, each grain a testament to the lives and dreams that had been lost in the chaos of battle. Amidst the ruins, a faint whimper, a sound as fragile as a whisper carried on the wind, reached Andrew's ears. Instinctively, he altered his course toward the source of the sound. There, hidden beneath a collapsed structure of concrete and twisted metal, lay a wounded dog. Its fur, once sleek and proud, was matted with grime and blood. The creature's eyes, clouded with pain and despair, held a silent plea for mercy. Though the dog's body trembled from the shock of injury and abandonment, its spirit still shone with a quiet dignity. Andrew knelt beside the animal, his heart pounding with an emotion that defied the harsh orders of retreat he had received only hours before. In that instant, all that mattered was the life before him, a life that had been callously discarded and chained to the rubble. Andrew's careful hands worked to free the dog from the rusted shackles that had once bound it to a cruel fate. The furry, metal, cold and unyielding, had been meant to confine not only the animal's body but also its very hope. Yet as Andrew lifted the dog into his arms, a fierce determination blazed within him, a determination that no command, no edict from above, could diminish. The soldier cradled the injured animal as though it were a treasure more valuable than any medal of honor. Each labored breath from the dog, which would later be known as James, resonated deeply with Andrew's own heartbeat, a silent vow that neither would be abandoned, no matter the cost. The journey back to the military base was fraught with peril. Under the cloak of night, Andrew navigated through narrow, winding paths where the threat of enemy patrols lurked in every shadow. The chill of the desert night was softened only by the warmth of his resolve, and the faint rhythmic breathing of James nestled against his chest. The passage back was not simply a physical journey, but a pilgrimage of loyalty and redemption. Every step taken was a defiant act against the orders that had demanded the dog be left behind, a testament to the bond between man and animal, forged in the crucible of combat and sacrifice. The stars above, indifferent witnesses to the lives unfolding beneath them, shone silently as Andrew pressed onward, his heart full of both hope and the weight of an impending reckoning. Upon reaching the base, the makeshift infirmary was a small, dimly lit tent where life and death danced on the edge of every heartbeat. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension and antiseptic fumes, a fragile battleground, where the fight was no longer against an external enemy, but against the ravages of time and injury. Within this confined space, a military veterinarian labored over James with a precision born of years of experience and a compassion that belied the harsh realities of war. Andrew stood close by, every muscle tensed in vigil as the vet, with deft and measured movements, began the delicate procedure to mend the wounds that threatened to claim his loyal friend. The dog's body convulsed weakly as pain surged with every stitch, yet its eyes flickered with the stubborn spark of survival. In that moment, the battle was waged not with weapons, but with the silent, determined pulse of hope that flowed through both man and beast. The procedure, as harrowing as it was vital, unfolded with an intensity that rivaled any combat. The vet's every movement was deliberate and sure, a blend of technical expertise and deep empathy. Andrew's hands, though trembling with both fear and determination, assisted in every way possible, applying gentle pressure to staunch the flow of blood, and whispering silent promises of a future yet to come. Each second stretched into an eternity, the quiet hum of medical equipment punctuating the unspoken prayers that filled the air. The tent became a microcosm of the larger battle, a struggle against time, fate, and the cruel machinations of those who would seek to extinguish the light of loyalty. As the procedure reached a tenuous conclusion, the fragile hope that had been nurtured in that crucible of pain began to blossom into the promise of recovery. But even as James's wounds were being stitched closed, a darker truth was gathering in the shadows of the base. In the aftermath of the rescue, whispers began to circulate among the ranks, a sinister rumor that the rescue of the dog had not been a simple act of compassion, but the result of a calculated betrayal. Andrew, haunted by the memory of that fateful day in the village, found himself compelled to search for answers. Late into the night, under the cover of silence and secrecy, he pored over scattered documents and half-heard conversations. The evidence he uncovered was damning. A senior officer had orchestrated the abandonment of James, not out of necessity, but as a means to rid the unit of a liability that threatened to expose deeper, more troubling deceptions within the command structure. In the solitude of his private quarters, Andrew painstakingly pieced together the fragments of evidence. Photographs, intercepted communications, and subtle hints from fellow soldiers formed a mosaic of betrayal that was as shocking as it was disheartening. The revelation that someone he had once respected could harbor such cold ambition ignited a fire within him, a relentless need to expose the truth, regardless of the personal and professional cost. The duty to his loyal companion, to the ideals of honor and integrity, and to the countless souls who had given everything for a cause he still believed in, outweighed the risk of defying orders. In that private moment of introspection, Andrew resolved that justice would be pursued, even if it meant standing alone against a tide of institutional resistance. The following days saw Andrew moving with a quiet determination through the corridors of power and deceit. With each passing moment, he gathered more evidence, carefully documenting every irregularity and every trace of the betrayal. His investigations took him to the dimly lit corners of administrative offices and the hushed meeting rooms where whispered conversations held the secrets of those in authority. In every scrap of paper and every furtive glance exchanged between officers, Andrew saw the unmistakable mark of a conspiracy, a deliberate and calculated attempt to erase the memory of a loyal dog, and by extension the honor of the unit. The weight of this discovery pressed upon him like the desert heat, yet his resolve only grew stronger. Every piece of evidence was a weapon against the corruption that threatened to undermine everything he stood for. As the investigation unfolded, the base became a crucible of tension and quiet indignation. The chain of command, long reliant on its ironclad hierarchy, now faced the unyielding pressure of a soldier who dared to question its every decision. In the sterile corridors of military justice, Andrew's findings were met with resistance. An attempt to bury the truth under layers of bureaucracy and blind loyalty to those in power. Yet the evidence, unassailable in its clarity, continued to mount, each new discovery a blow to the carefully constructed facade of honor. The whispers of betrayal, once murmured in hushed tones, began to swell into a chorus that could not be silenced. In the eyes of the men and women who had borne witness to the sacrifices of their fallen comrades, the truth shone like a beacon, a reminder that loyalty, once betrayed, could never be fully extinguished. Amid this growing storm of revelation, a day arrived that would mark the turning point in the battle for justice. In a vast open courtyard at the heart of the base, soldiers and officers alike gathered for what was intended to be a routine assembly. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, the collective breath of the assembled men and women held in, a moment of suspended judgment. Andrew, carrying with him the weight of his evidence and the unyielding bond with his recovering canine companion, stepped forward. In that solemn space, the truth was laid bare before all, each piece of evidence meticulously presented, each fact a testament to the betrayal that had sought to silence loyalty and compassion. There was no raised voice, no heated argument, only the steady, resolute narration of events that had led to this fateful moment. The silent presence of James, once weak and abandoned, now stood as a living symbol of defiance and hope. In his eyes shone the light of a spirit that had not been quenched by cruelty, and his very survival was a resounding repudiation of the treachery that had once threatened to shatter the unit from within. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. Officers who had once defended the hierarchy now found themselves forced to confront the bitter truth that honor had been compromised. In that powerful moment of collective realization, the base itself seemed to tremble with the force of justice. The evidence was irrefutable. A senior officer had not only abandoned a loyal friend, but had engineered a web of deceit that threatened to unravel the very fabric of the unit. The collective heart of the soldiers, beaten down by the relentless toll of war, now beat with a renewed determination to uphold the values that defined them. There, in the midst of an assembly meant to reinforce order, the seeds of retribution took root. A silent oath was forged among the ranks. That betrayal, no matter how deeply embedded, would be met with the unwavering force of truth and loyalty. Yet, even as the winds of justice began to stir within the base, fate was not yet finished with its tests. The very next day, the still recovering scars of conflict were reopened by the sudden eruption of a fierce battle. Enemy forces, sensing the vulnerability of an institution in the throes of internal strife, launched a coordinated assault on the base's perimeter. The skies filled with the roar of incoming artillery, and the ground trembled under the relentless barrage of explosions. In the midst of this chaos, as soldiers scrambled to fortify their positions and the air grew thick with the acrid smoke of gunfire, the traitorous officer, whose dark ambitions had been laid bare, saw a final opportunity to seize control. With an arrogance born of desperation, he re-emerged on the battlefield, intent on silencing the dissent that had exposed his betrayal. His presence, a stark contrast to the valor that had defined the unit, ignited a confrontation that would determine the fate of every soul present. In the heat of combat, as the battle raged with a ferocity that blurred the lines between life and death, the loyal bond between Andrew and James was put to the ultimate test. Amid the chaos, as explosions rocked the perimeter and the cries of the wounded filled the air, the traitorous officer advanced with a cold, calculated menace. Andrew, driven by the fierce determination to protect not only his own life but also the sanctity of loyalty embodied by James, moved as if guided by an unseen force. The ground became a theater of valor and defiance, each moment a struggle against the overwhelming tide of betrayal and destruction. As the officer's forces closed in, the injured dog, now a symbol of resilience and unwavering love, surged forward with an unexpected ferocity. In one decisive moment that defied the brutality of war, James intercepted an attack aimed directly at Andrew, his actions cutting through the chaos like a beacon of righteous fury. The clash that ensued was swift and unyielding, a final confrontation in which the forces of treachery were met with the indomitable spirit of loyalty. The battle reached its zenith as the traitorous officer, his ambitions laid bare for all to see, was finally overpowered by the combined might of a unit awakened to the truth. The clash of metal and the roar of defiant hearts echoed across the battlefield, each soldier fighting not merely for survival, but for the principles that had been compromised. In the swirling dust of combat, the officer's downfall was sealed by the brave actions of those who refused to let treachery go unpunished. Every blow struck, every sacrifice made on that day was a tribute to the honor of a soldier and his devoted canine companion. The echoes of that final confrontation resonated far beyond the battlefield, a resounding affirmation that even in the midst of war's darkest hours, the light of truth and loyalty could never be extinguished. In the aftermath of the fierce battle, as the enemy forces were repelled and the wounded were tended to with solemn care, the base slowly began to heal. The traitorous officer was taken into custody, his dark ambitions dismantled piece by piece by the relentless pursuit of justice. The inquiry that followed was marked by a quiet dignity, a methodical, painstaking process of restoring honor to an institution battered by betrayal. Within the sterile walls of military justice, every piece of evidence was re-examined, every testimony revisited, until the full extent of the betrayal was laid bare for all to see. For Andrew, The path to vindication had been long and arduous, but the journey had reaffirmed the unbreakable bond between man and dog, a bond that had, against all odds, weathered the storms of war and deception. As the months turned into years, the scars of battle slowly faded, replaced by the tender promise of recovery and renewal. Andrew, now free from the shackles of betrayal and the heavy burdens of conflict, began the long process of rebuilding, not only his own life, but also the trust that had been shattered by deceit. James, his once injured body now mended and his spirit ever resilient, remained at his side, a living reminder of the courage that had triumphed over darkness. Together they forged a new path, a journey marked by quiet mornings, gentle walks through peaceful countrysides, and the shared understanding that the greatest battles are not always fought on the fields of war, but within the hearts of those who refuse to surrender hope. In the soft light of a new dawn, far removed from the desolation of the Afghan village and the bitter echoes of betrayal, Andrew and James found solace in the simplicity of a peaceful life. The scars of war, though never fully erased, served as reminders of battles fought and victories won, not over enemies, but over the insidious forces of corruption and treachery that had once threatened to extinguish the spirit of loyalty. Their journey, marked by sacrifice, resilience, and an unyielding commitment to justice, became a testament to the enduring power of honor in the face of overwhelming odds. In the quiet moments of reflection, as they sat beneath ancient trees or watched the gentle play of light upon a tranquil stream, the soldier and his loyal companion shared a bond that transcended words, a bond forged in the crucible of war and tempered by the relentless pursuit of truth. As the seasons changed and the passage of time wove its tapestry of healing and hope, the memory of those turbulent days became a distant echo, a reminder of the price of betrayal and the enduring strength of loyalty. Andrew's legacy, intertwined with that of his faithful friend James, was celebrated not in grand declarations or fleeting moments of glory, but in the quiet, steadfast courage that defined every step they took on the road to recovery. Their story, recounted in hushed tones around campfires and in the quiet corridors of military history, served as an enduring reminder that even in the face of the deepest wounds, the human spirit and the spirit of those who stand by it can rise again, resilient and unbroken. In the twilight of a long and arduous journey, as the sun set gently over rolling hills and the promise of a new day glimmered on the horizon, Andrew and James embraced the future with a sense of peace that had long been denied them. The memory of the past, with all its pain and sacrifice, was transformed into a beacon of hope, a light that would forever guide them on their journey toward redemption and renewal. Their hearts, once heavy with the burden of betrayal, now beat, in harmony with the rhythm of a peaceful existence, each beat a celebration of the love and loyalty that had sustained them through the darkest of times. And so, beneath the endless sky and amidst the whispering winds of a land reborn, the soldier and his loyal dog walked side by side, a living testament to the timeless truth that no matter how fierce the storm or how bitter the betrayal, the bonds of honor and compassion can mend even the deepest of wounds, and that in the end, the light of truth will always prevail.